Hey fam, I hope you're doing fine. Welcome to yet another episode of the Evolve with Intent podcast. I'm sure you've all had different people say things like, I wish someone told me this in my early 20s. The other time we're having an episode with my mentor and he mentioned the same line. He's like, at his time, he didn't have anyone telling him what to do, where to go. There weren't as much resources. But I mean, what a time to be alive that we get to have these conversations that help us stay on the right track of things. So in today's episode, I am going to share things that we ought to embrace in our early 20s. I am a young woman in my mid-20s, and for the past 4 or 5 years, there are things I've constantly had to embrace. I wouldn't say I have mastered all of them, but I am aware this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing to do as early as of today, so that I don't have to struggle with some things later in my life. So in today's episode, I want us to talk about things that are a must-have, that we must have on our fingertips in our early 20s, in our mid-20s, or at any point in your life. It does not matter whether you're in your 20s. I mean, learning never stops. Now, if I was in my early 20s, I would clearly, as early as I can, state what I want out of this life. I feel like when I was about 21, 22, I was just going where the wind was taking me, really. I had zero sense of compass or direction. I was just, I don't know, I would go where my mom was telling me to go. Or, I mean, as much as that sounds like I was still young, but usually I like to think beyond our continent, really. Kids in other countries be about 18 when they already know what they want to do with their lives. So if I'm going to talk to my fellow Ugandans, if you're in Uganda and you're 21 and you haven't found out what exactly that it is that you want to do with your life, now is actually a good time to think about it and set a goal to achieve something. That way you will have a sense of direction. This is the goal I want to achieve. I want to become the best podcaster in, let's say, Uganda. I will wake up every day trying to work towards that. So the earlier you can find that you want to do with your life, then set goal towards achieving what you want to do with your life, the earlier for you, the better. While you're at it, take your education seriously. If you have the privilege to afford or get access to quality education, please take it seriously. Work on getting your grades straight. Because I'm saying this because the time I was, which is a very funny thing to say, the time I was doing my bachelor's, like I said, I was just going where the wind blew me, really. I don't want to say I wasn't taking it seriously. I just aimed to pass. That's how lost I was. So long as I got above 50, for me, that was it. Only to get to third year, and there was, is it called CGP or something like that? And I was struggling to even make a first class. I had really terrible grades at campus. And when I think about it, I could have done better. Not that I didn't love the course that I was doing. I actually loved what I was doing. But I just thought it was, I don't know. I don't even know what I thought, that I didn't take it serious. So if you're at school, please take it seriously. Those grades are going to matter. I feel like even when I'm applying for jobs and someone sees my paper, somehow they think I'm a wazeka. They think I'm a joker because I did actually perform as I should have. So take your education very seriously. It will bite back later, and once you grow up and then you're like, what was I up to? Have you guys had the saying that goes, your network is your net worth? Yeah, I used to think it's such a cliche thing to say. Like, are your friends supposed to have money or something like that? But actually, now that I've grown, I feel like I actually used to misunderstand it. We usually make friends with people who are probably from the same family background. So, like, there must be something you share, and then you're drawn to each other, and then you relate, and you're like, oh, she's my best friend. But I've had to come to terms with the reality that the people that are going to elevate you or inspire you to do bigger things with your life are going to be people that are out of your league. So my point here is, try as much as you can to create and embrace relationships with people that are out of your social circle. People from better families, with functional families, present parents, people that went to bigger universities than you did, people that do things from outside your normal understanding. It is through these people that you'll either be inspired, or one of them is going to call you and tell you, by the way, Joanne, there is a job opening here. Try as much as you can to embrace such relationships. They're important. That's why the saying goes, your network is your net worth. Let me tell you guys a story. I think about a year and a half ago, I was lucky enough to land this job that was paying me a good amount of money. I'm saying it's a good amount because, I was 24 and I honestly didn't have that much that I was doing with it. And somehow I kept thinking, if I am making this much at 24, how much will I be making at 26? Sadly, my contract ended, I think, a year ago, and we could not renew it, and my job phased out. Now, I don't know if any of you has been in a similar experience. Because you're young, you think money will always keep coming around like that. I've learned that it actually doesn't. Anything could possibly happen to you today, an accident, God forbid. Anything could happen, and that job or that source of income just phases out or reduces. So if you do not have any financial discipline, now is the time to actually start considering ways of how you can use whichever little amount of money that you're getting to do the best with it. I have a friend who is into saving groups, and they've managed to do so much with their lives. I've also learned something else that I've been trying to embrace. I got it from a friend, and this is what they told me. Once your money gets to your account, let's say on the 31st, give it a maximum of 3 days without making any impulsive decisions. Because for me, this is what used to happen. By the time I know payday is coming, I have like a list of 10 things that I have convinced myself that are very urgent, that I need to do. And among those things, there isn't any saving or any investing. So it's either a date that I have to sort, or a shoe that I have to buy, or things that actually don't even make sense. So if you're someone who is making any amount of money, it does not matter if you're making that much. It is important that you try to save. And once you start those reckless financial decisions, really, it becomes a habit. Before you know it, you're making enough money, but you don't have anything to show for it. So for me, honestly, I've been doing the work, and this year I make way less than I was making that year. But I've tried as much as I can to embrace financial discipline, that I get so much more done with very little finances than when I had that much money. So start with cutting down on your costs, really. I remember I was living in a very expensive house for no good reason, really. Cut down on those unnecessary costs that you can avoid, and try as much as you can to use your money to do something productive. There are a lot of things that happen to young people in their 20s, really. Some of these things are like great experiences, and some can be very terrible experiences that just change your life forever, But one thing I've learned is that embrace every experience, whether it's a good one or a bad one, to become a better version of yourself. When I look back about the things that have constantly happened to me, and some of these things are things I used to say, oh my God, I'd never do that. That can never happen to me. Oh my God, I know better, because you think you're young and sleek and smart. But before you know it, you're in the same situation. So, which brings me to the point where in your 20s, as much as you're wild and daring and adventurous, please stay humble. I used to be very loud about so many things in my, let's say, 21, 22, 22. But life happens to you, and for some reason, you just calm down, you just slow down. So whatever experience has happened to you, as for me, honestly, a lot of things have happened to me, things that I did not even see come, but I've embraced it. I've thanked God for every experience, because honestly, I feel like they've perfectly shaped me into who I've become today. So no matter what happens to you, I do not care. It does not matter. Do not let anyone use your past against you. It's only you who has the power to use that experience to learn and become a better version of yourself. I was talking to my mother the other day, and she was telling me that she is working the hardest right now at her old age. And then she was like, you should use your early stages of your life to work as hard, which is something I wanted to pass on today. In your 20's, 100% chances are that you're in perfect shape. Your bones are in perfect shape, your health, like there is nothing that can possibly stop you. So it is important to work the hardest at that time. We tend to think that we have time. We spend so much time on things that do not even matter. And before you know it, time does eventually fly by so fast. And before you know it, you're doing things you should have done early enough. So this is a reminder, because if grown-ups are telling us these things, I felt so sad hearing my mom say something like that. And I was like, this is sad. Because at that time, age has caught up. She probably has different health complications. Her body, her bones are not like as strong. So if you're a young man, young woman in your 20's, please use the energy that God has given you to take a shot at everything that life throws at you and give it your all, because chances are that's the most healthy, most energetic you're ever going to be. And by the way, I should add that please eat well. Embrace the habit of having healthy meals. Usually we tend to undermine some of these things by you do it like as if it's a joke. You drink a beer every day because you think it's just a pastime. Before you know it, it becomes a habit. It's something you just can't get rid of. So while you do your unhealthy meals of, a Rolex, or you're eating junk food, or while you do all these reckless eating habits, before you know it, it becomes part of you. You even feel like eating fresh food is like so out of this world. It's so uncomfortable for you. So while you're young and energetic, take care of your body. Eat well. Work out if you can. Look like your age. I've seen people say this person X looks like they're 25, when in actual they're like way older than that. The only reason people look like that is because they actually invest time and money into their body. So take care of yourself. Eat well, moisturize, drink water, and mind your business. When I was about 23, I was blessed enough to meet my mentor. And honestly, since then, a lot has transformed in my life, which brings me to the point that I want to emphasize here. It is important that God blesses you with a mentor, or you find someone in whose footsteps you can walk. Because there is a lot happening, really. There is the internet, there is an abundance of information telling you to do this, to do that, to do it this way, to do it that way. But once you have a mentor, someone you actually admire and look up to, it will be important for you to know, if they got to point X, how did they get there? How can I use their experience to get to where they are? Even better if you can find someone who is doing something similar to what you're trying to achieve out of life, because that way both of you will easily relate with each other and share freely. Along with finding a mentor, I've also embraced the habit of reading and acquiring new knowledge. When I finished school, I realized that there was actually a lot of learning and unlearning to do outside our university education. Like there's a whole new world that awaited me that I absolutely had no idea how to go about it. So my point here is acquire new knowledge about things all the time. Like read personal development books, read self-improvement books. Try as much as you can to expose yourself to things beyond the usual. Beyond TikTok, Twitter. Spare some time within your weekdays, and let's say 30 minutes today, I'm going to spend them reading 3 pages, like actually paying attention, attentively taking in information about what it is that you're trying to achieve at that time of your life. These, for me, really helped me. I will share some of the few books that I read that just changed my mindset. I realized as young people, we need a mindset change. A lot is going on in our minds because that's all we know. That's all we've all been exposed to. We don't know better. We are trying to fit in with society. We are probably lost. We are scared. So acquire new knowledge all the time. Strive as hard as you can to become a better version of yourself. I think I've mentioned this before. My biggest fear is being the same person I was 6 months ago, a year ago. I am so afraid of that reality because I keep telling myself there are newborns coming in all the time. The kids my age who went to better schools, who were raised in different families, and I cannot sleep on the job. So you can't sleep on the job either. I could go on and on about the things that we're supposed to grasp and embrace in our 20s and would not finish this episode. The point here is look out for information, read books, listen to different podcasts from different people in Uganda and outside this country. You'll be exposed to new knowledge, new ways of doing things for you to become a better version of yourself. And I mean, I don't want us to act like we are overly serious with our life. I mean, have fun, make experiences, make memories, but at the end of the day, do not waste your time. Be intentional about it. Make time for things that actually matter. Invest in long-term plans for your future. You may keep thinking because I am young, and before you know it, you're an adult and people actually have expectations of you. But I also get it. 20s can be such a confusing age. Personally, at the moment, I am overwhelmed. There is a lot to process in mind, to think about my future. Am I doing the right thing? Is this worth an investment? Am I wasting my time? Am I missing out on life that's actually happening out there? It can be crazy and confusing, but I want to assure you, if you're in the same headspace, it is okay. I've been told so. People who've been here before told me the same thing. They were dealing with the same pressures, but it all paid off. It's very okay if you're worried, if you're working on eggshells with your life in your 20s, because now that means you're actually aware and concerned about your future and your life and the things you should be doing. So it's okay. Take a day at a time. Be intentional about it. Take life seriously. Do not waste your time on things that actually don't matter, and be as ready to start over as much as you can, because at this point, it is very okay for me to say, you know what? I am done with this thing A. I'm going to do this thing B. It is very okay. No one is going to call you out on it. But later in life, you don't have that privilege of saying, I don't like this job. It's a toxic work environment. I'm done. You can't, because you have a family. You have children who have to go to school. But at this time, you should be as daring and as confident of yourself, as hungry for life as you should be. I shared in one of the episodes here of a young lady, may her soul rest in peace, Josephine, who passed on. And she was such a young girl, but the things she had achieved, I don't think she was sleeping on the job. I believe she was very intentional about her life and what she wanted out of it. That's why even at that age, she looked like she had achieved so much, clearly because she was trying as much as she can to do great things with her life. And I remember that episode, I had a question in mind. I'm like, what would you do with your life today if someone gave you time? And if someone told you have 5 years to go, what would you do about it? Now, stop procrastinating. Stop saying you're not ready. Stop making excuses for yourself. Stop feeling pity for yourself. I am saying these things because that's the headspace I've been in. I've had so much self-pity, I think, for the past 3 years, around 21. I kept blaming the the circumstances that had happened in my life as an excuse for me to be average. I lived in my head a lot. I was so afraid. My God, I've had these struggles, and I'm telling you, it is very okay for you to feel like this, but it's your responsibility to do something about it. So while I keep doing the work, I hope you get to work. I will see you in the next one. Bye.